Hey, where's Steve? He's late for work, or what's going on?
Steve?
Yeah,
Oh, Steve Martin.
yeah.
No, sir. He has no obligation here. He's here by his own free will, and he's an addition to this broadcast.
Oh,
So, there's going to be days where, as he told me earlier today, I'm not going to be able to show up today. Tomorrow I'll do an hour with you. I said, listen, bro, you go with the flow. I don't pressure anybody. You got to do what you got to do in your life. I do what I do. If we come together, as they always like to say,
I'm
then I'm open to
disappointed.
it. Well, you're disappointed. Okay, well, my father ran that
I'm
trip earlier
disappointed.
too, and then Tarek fucking ripped him a new one. He goes, if Steve's not going to be here, I don't want to be here. And then Tarek went off on him. He goes, this is how you treat your son? These are the kind of jokes you make? You put him down. You don't respect him. You fuck with his self-esteem and self-worth. You've been doing that all his life, right? So, Tarek had to fucking put him in a headlock and really give him the business because he wants to come in here and play his fucking games. His egoic bit non-bit games. My father is a masochist, right? He's sadistic and masochistic. That's clear.
Yes, well, I mean, if his daddy's, Trump, I guess he likes to be whipped every once in a while and
Right.
abused.
My father is a very fragile, insecure ego, and for him to see his son, who he thought was going to be absolutely nothing and nobody, in cahoots with, cavorting with the likes of a NFL superstar, rich and famous, successful, it just eats him up from the inside out, right? He's not aware of it. He won't make it conscious, but subconsciously, it just fucking grinds his gears. He's busted his balls all his life, got little to nothing and nowhere. And Paulie Boy's just, in his own lane, doing what he does and fascinating results in their own right. So he can't handle it, man. And it's a shame because I look forward to a day where he actually pursues realization, actualization, self knowledge, reconciliation, reprioritization, and an application of understanding himself. I look forward to those days. Will that day ever come? Who knows, Lewis? And at the end of the day, who can care? I don't have it in me at this point. I have to focus enough of my energy and attention on myself and whoever is an extension of myself, like yourself, who is moving into these understandings, is wanting to change themselves and their life and lifestyle. I have to be present and aware for those beings, right? So treat all beings as straw dogs. Nobody gets favorites. Nobody's special. Nobody's above the program. I will allocate my time, energy, attention to myself and anybody else who really wants to make a change and live different. If not, go away from me. I never knew you, essentially. Right? I still love and care for you, but I don't have time for my or anyone else's games and bullshit and slavery. And that should be respected, right? That should not be a negative connotation. That should be a source of respect and admiration, in a sense, I would think. Your thoughts, Lewis, on any of that? Anyone else?
Well, I suspect that some people believe, I'm not saying your father does or anybody else per se, I'm just saying in general, some people uh, believe they are in self, but I think that sometimes people can be self centered, which is a different sort of self, I believe, maybe the false
Right.
self.
There's self-centered and there's centered in self.
Right.
I would ascertain that I am at this point for the first time in a long time centered in self and purpose and meaning almost completely. While I see a bunch of other folks running around in their life up and down the shore claiming they've crossed over, as the Tao says, and thinking that the world revolves around them and their thoughts, emotions, actions, and triggers. And it doesn't. You have to revolve your beingness around what is and take life on life's terms, not on your terms. That's how you get burned, as far as I'm concerned. But please continue. I didn't mean to interrupt you,
Well,
sir.
I mean, I agree with everything you just said, and sadly, I think that sometimes it's people that are more intelligent than some, than I won't say most, but more intelligent than some, that seem to fall into that trap of being self-centered rather than centered in self, because they believe they have the answers. They believe that they have the right way, the direction
Part
when
of it
it's
is because they believe their codependency is a display of a virtue that they think is loving or caring, right? So when you start to center in self and go your own way, your own purpose and path under God, if you will, they will call you self-centered and say the world revolves around you and attempt to gaslight you because they want to
right,
continue in the old habits and ways of codependency that don't work. There's co-creation and there's codependency. And it's important that we understand the difference.
right. And some people, it's very difficult for them to see that. And I would include myself in that. Maybe not today. I'm a little better. I think I'm more aware and awake as to what I have been doing in the recent past. Like, for example, when my daughter was at my house, and I would take that place, or I was taking that place that, well, I'm giving her, a place to stay. I'm giving her all of the. Look, she should be, seeing all this, right? So I was centered in myself in that moment, not co-creating with her, and seeing what she brought to the table, and not negating what I brought to the table, but keeping it open as on a level playing field rather than raising myself above it.
Yeah, and a lot of this seems to be paradoxical. The more that you try to get, keep, and have your daughter or a relationship with her, the more you drive each other away. The more that
Right.
you pursue your purpose, your passion, your pleasure, your sense of creation, the more that you encourage her to do that, the more that you can share that life and that lifestyle together in a loving, caring way. Again, that's the difference between actualization, realization, co creation, and just codependency. And that's what you
Yes.
have with most of these fucking slaves in their household. I've come up under it and I see it to this day. And they want to portray it as some type of virtue. And I go, you don't know yourself. You don't understand life and interpersonal relationships. And you don't understand the idea of devoting yourself to a walk in a way that is beyond yourself. There is no selfless component in these folks' beingness. And it is evident. That's why they constantly project. And it's fucking embarrassing, as the intro said. Right? To someone who has pursued that walk that way and that path. To be presumed to be just like them and have no selfless component or understanding of the universe outside of my own 3D point of view, it's a fucking embarrassment. And then they think that I'm insulting them when I'm trying to call from within out of them the truest or highest self and intention. They want to focus on their low level intentions, which are feeling based, not purpose based. And I go, this is where you trick yourself out of position. The road to hell is paved with good feelings and intentions.
Oh,
You have to
yes.
know yourself and the other and what the purpose is and how it's all going to come together and work toward that goal. If you don't have that in your life, you're living a life of lukewarm mediocrity and you're tricking yourself and others to thinking you're loving and caring and that you've got what you need when you're just fucking codependent. And when the time comes for that to all be tested, you're going to realize in one moment you've never had what you needed. You've never known what you needed to know, and you've definitely not acted on it.
And it's all fear-based. Sorry if you weren't finished. I apologize, but in my opinion, it's fear that keeps you away, or at least kept me away from moving into that next level, that higher
It's always
self.
fear, Lewis. If you're not in
Yeah.
faith, you're in fear, and that's always the
Yes.
case.
Yes. And it's easy to see when, or at least I think it is to some degree, to see when it's changing if you allow yourself to step into that change, because you will see different things coming your way. Like, sometimes it could be the smallest of things, right? Sometimes it could be something that if you're not awake and aware and paying attention, you may miss it. Like, not to say that this is one of those things, but I suspect it could be, where the other day my one of my daughters called me. She said, "Hey, what size of pants do you wear?" And I says, "Well, why?" She says, "Oh, there's these pants that I thought you would really like because they, and so people start thinking about you. People start seeking you out, whereas instead you don't have to seek them out; they'll seek you out.
Right.
when they say,
Familiarity breeds contempt. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. And the more purposeful you are, the more people become aware directly or indirectly that you're fulfilled or fulfilling your purpose, and you become a more attractive or desirable being to be around.
right,
And that is the subtlety to the art of living. It's like they'll say, how do you get women? You don't get women. You get in tune with your alignment and your purpose, and they show up, because that's what women are attracted to, a man who's aligned with his purpose. Now, what they're going to do with that if you let them, that's a whole other story. And
yeah,
that's where the husbandry comes in, because you're going to have to bring them back to an understanding of themselves and their purpose to ride with you in your purpose. If you can't get that done, you're going to fuck yourself and fuck that woman out of position. That's what I've learned.
yeah. It's not just
So
with
that's where the
like,
leadership within self comes in, right? And it can be very subtle at times.
yeah, sorry.
No, go
It's not
ahead.
just with women. It's, I see it now. I'm starting to notice it with just all people, right? Where it seems people are more, I don't want to use the word attracted because I guess that's the only word I can really think. They're more attracted to you because they have a sense that you're more open to honest relationships, and people sense it, right? At least the ones that are real, I think, and that's nice.
Yeah, authenticity communicates confidence directly or indirectly, and also it's about competency and capability. What's
yeah,
most attractive, I think, even if it's subconsciously, from a woman to a man, is respect. Does that man
yeah,
respect himself, a process, a procedure? Is he loyal to that? Can he make me a part of that? Right. So it is a successful path, a full of succession from the inside out path. I think that is the most attractive thing about a man from a woman. Right. And it's also the pivotal point of where the relationship is made or broken, because you cannot continue in a relationship with a man who's not respected by a woman. And more importantly, his purpose, his role, his function in her life and in life in general. But again, you got to create that. You got to move into that. That doesn't just happen by being born a biological male. You have to learn to occupy that position in yourself and in life. And yeah, it's going to take time and learning and understanding. But as it happens, as you say, you can start to see the glimmering of a different vision and inner beingness start to come forth, right? It starts to become more and more apparent. At first, it's subtle, and it becomes more and more apparent the change in consciousness that takes place.
yes, yes. And conversely, the opposite, where, for a couple of years there, I was falling deeper and deeper into that self-centered space, and it was like a repellent. It becomes a repellent to all beings, male, female, young, old. The people repel from you rather than come to you, or are more attracted to you.
Well, this is what's happening with Jack Talcott, and he may be beyond the ability to comprehend it or put it into practice through his illness, if you could say. But
Right.
people are repelled from him because of the inauthenticity, the unwillingness to be completely honest with himself and others. He may have a grasp on the information, he may be able to be aware of it in others, but he cannot become aware of it in himself and apply it. There's too much in the way, right? So you see the constant looping of, I can't attract or call anyone or anything new into my life. They never seem to understand this is a thing with you. This is
Yeah.
you as an attractor space. This is you as a repellent space. This is your energetic beingness, and it's greatly dependent upon what you believe about yourself and others. Very subtle. You change your beliefs, unconscious and conscious, about self and the universe and others, and you watch your vision and discernment start to update with that. It's miraculous.
I would
And
also
you can
add.
take. Go ahead.
I would also add you remove fear from your life as well.
Yeah, or go past it. I don't know if you can ever completely remove it, but you can view fear as an opportunity rather than an impediment.
True.
Because Jack Talcott will say grandiose things like "live without fear." Let's test that theory. I got a few African Americans who I can have ride over there and see how much you can truly live without fear. You may never be able to live without fear, but you can live with it in the sense of going past it and using it as an opportunity, presuming it's not a healthy fear in a sense. Again, you don't want to completely remove fear. You'll wind up hurting yourself or someone else. So there's a healthy amount of fear or anticipation behind certain things that are common sense, you could argue. There should be no fear of loving, though, right? There should be no fear of loving and co-creation with ones who are worthy in certain senses and discerning, But again, that's part of our walk and experience, is creating a competent, capable, discerning being, and then putting it out into the world, and with faith, watching as certain beings show up who either are that or on the path to that. And then that's the walk, right? It's a walk together toward that archetypal man or woman. And then co-creating and communing together. But you got to be a student of life, and you got to be devoted. This ain't a hobby.
Love without fear.
Well, right. That's why he stole my branding, because it's infinitely better than his.
Yeah, he did. That was the one he stole, right? Love without fear, right?
Yeah. Because again, the scripture tells us, love thy enemy. So if you can seek a space of being thankful and grateful for everything, including the darkness that comes forth in this realm, you can reconcile that much more easier, right? Through forgiveness. So yeah, again, we recognize that most of the time folks do what they think is going to make them the most happy. They're just confused about how that's going to work out. If folks really understood in themselves, they know not what they do, right? If they knew what they were doing and what it was going to lead to, they most likely would not do it. Most people are not that insane and evil that they would actively do bad things knowing it would end up bad for them, right? They're just taught and or learn or believe that by doing these certain things, they're going to have an advantage in life, and they're mistaken, right? So, I just find that through compassion, or with passion and empathy, faith, forgiveness, understanding of self, and an application, there really is no chinks in the armor of God, so to speak. There really is no way in with me other than through, in the sense of facing life on life's terms, developing healthy communication and attachment styles for oneself and others, with people, places, and things, and then practicing the art of faith and surrender, because you're not always going to get what you want, but seemingly in this life, you get what you need if you try. Of course, that's a famous Rolling Stones line. But, cliche as it is, this is ancient wisdom from the beginning of time. There's no way around it. It's the way. Not your way, my way, his way, the way. And you can call it stoicism, you can call it philosophy, you can call it, in a sense, spirituality. I prefer conscious and awareness, because all it really is a journey to becoming more and more conscious and aware, and realizing you have more and more choice and opportunity in various venues. It's really just about remembering that and being reminded of that and accepting it. Your thoughts, expert panel?
I think the truther people, or whatever you want to call them, truthers, they get caught up with that whole idea, because they don't, they think they're doing something by, counting the numbers, bringing out, exposing this or that.
You know what they're doing? They're chasing away the mystery and the miracle for themselves. Those who know don't talk. Those who talk don't know. If you become aware of synchronicity and how the planets and the ether and the numbers and all of it moves around you, well, understand that and accept that you're in alignment and in flow on some level. You're in the synchronicity. You're part of a universe. The more you keep talking about it, the more you keep drawing attention to it, the more you keep trying to understand it and explain it, the more you miss the mystery and the miracle within.
And that's where they want us. I don't want to go into that they place, but I think the people that are aware understand that keeps you on a lower plane rather than moving forward and being able to stand for your rights and your freedoms, because you're too busy talking about, exposing.
All right, like the Rat Blood creature says, your safety physically is an illusion, but in a sense, so is reality. And if one can come to the understanding that their beingness is eternal, or unable to be harmed, in a sense, energetically, then safety is not only not an illusion, it's a mutual assurity, because you cannot harm my beingness. You can only do harm to the vessel, right? So it's really not about safety as much as it is secure in the knowledge of self that I have a body, I am not the body. So my safety is assured, right? Harm to my body is also assured because the physical death will take place. So I don't know if that makes sense.
To me, it does, definitely. We're here for such a short time that it's almost meaningless. The physical.
Yeah, the knowledge and the understanding and the practice is where the security comes from, not from the incarnation and the beingness and what happens in the world, you know? You could argue that there's a level of physical security in the world, but it's an extension of the inner space. You know, a man can build walls all around himself and moats and stack it with guards. It's not going to stop him from being fearful and insecure on the inside. You know, so the faithful being is the most secure inside and out. And then he may erect a minimal amount of walls for a minimal amount of security within the boundaries of common sense.
And ironically, that's the man that's most feared by others. It's the one that is secure in that space, that inner self, the center,
Right, because he doesn't.
of self. Sorry,
he doesn't share because he doesn't share that fear, is what you're saying. That's why he's feared by others, because that man's not worried about what's going to happen to him. He's already faced his own death, most likely, his own mortality.
Yeah, Westerners will build walls because they're constantly inside fear and insecure, right? From the inside out. So they wall everything up. You know, the folks in other parts of the world who practice faith day in and day out to the point it's second nature have no need for a wall. They live their life as if a meteor or a mine, you know, not a mine, what do you call it, a mortar, could fall on my head at any time. That's, you know, God wills it, essentially. So, you know, it's a little bit of this and that, right? Trust in God, but tie up your camel. So use a bit of common sense, and you also have faith that pretty much whatever's meant for you is going to be brought forth, it would seem. And then it's going to be about what you do with it. You know, I've gotten employment situations that way, just walking off into a town I never been to and just staying in a faith space and having something open up. You know, you follow the Hansel and Gretel thread, it's going to lead to something. You know, you got to find it from within, though. So I've seen it work in action. You know, walking around, you stumble upon something. You know, what are you guys doing? Oh, we're doing this job, whatever. You know, we need somebody. You go from, I can't get a job nowhere, there's no way it's going to happen, to I'm going to walk and step out in faith, and it just fucking appears. And then you wind up doing, you know, however long you do there, and you have a whole set of experiences and interactions and conversations to get everything you need beyond just a fucking paycheck.
And you end up with 4 or 5 people wanting you to work for them when they see it, or they sense it.
You know,
or you're forced into a homeless situation where you're wandering the desert, as people have done before. And, you know, you do your best to try to help your fellow man while you're out there. It's been an interesting couple of months.
Yeah, I don't mean to ask for Paul, because it should be him asking, and he usually does. But what have you had going on, Dean? I usually am interested to hear like what you've been dealing with lately.
Well, the county stole my home a few months back,
Right.
and I've been adjusting to this nomadic lifestyle I'm now living. But fortunately, I purchased a motorhome and a truck to pull it. I mean, a fifth wheel. So we at least got that to go with. But, you know, not doing the whole slave stuff, if you will, as Paul's mentioned before. So
Right.
Just
So
out there roaming the
you're
desert.
sort of flippant about your journey, but you recognize the obvious irony of you being quote unquote reduced. I don't see it that way. I see a production happening, but
Oh,
folks, go ahead.
we are blessed every day. There are blessings all around us. So those are not lost on me. That is not what I'm saying. We are taking it as it is. I've learned something. I still have a path to follow, either out here in the desert and helping people as much as I can because I feel driven to do that. But at the same time, I'm not done going after the county who stole my property that they had no authority over in the first place. So
Sorry, if you don't mind me asking, what do you mean they stole your property? Whether I don't know if it's relevant really to the conversation, but
they
I'm just curious.
they would call it a mortgage foreclosure, and they ousted me out of it. But the only people that kicked me out of the house was the sheriff's deputies by direction of the superior court.
So the bottom line is you took out a mortgage contract and you didn't fulfill the quota as far as legal debt notes go.
I made a mistake, and I need to ask for forgiveness for my mistake because there are U.S. codes that tell you that who's eligible for such things, and I was not one of them.
It's not about U.S. code. Again, if you can't figure out in your heart as a man that you have no right to property that you can't reconcile for, I don't know what to tell you. Go hang out with Jack Talcott, because how most of us have come up is, and you can tell the wizard this as well, is you have to work and create and produce in order to have. And if you can't cover the VIG, then you better give it up instead of sitting around there waiting for them to take it back. So you have no right in this life to property other than what you can build or create or work for. I know that's
well, you might be right. I'm not going to argue that, but I will tell you their own rules will tell you their own rhetoric.
I'm not interested in their pimp and hoe rules. I'm interested in common sense and ethic and logic.
Common sense and logic tells you that their rules can say housing is a human right, and then they can turn around and say,
I'm not interested in their new world order pandering to your sensibilities and emotions and attachment style, the bleeding heart nonsense. We know damn well that worldwide human rights don't consist of housing or even clean water or the rest of it. So who are we kidding? You want to quote their rules when we're living in the real world, in reality, that we face life on life's terms. So life on life's terms is you're not guaranteed anything other than what you can co-create or what you can serve to get. And if you think the bank or any other big corporation owes you a living or an enclosure, I think you got some work to do on yourself and in life.
I would only suggest in response to that if it wasn't my property to begin with, why was I paying for it, maintaining it, keeping it up? If it was really the county's property, then where were they last 25 fucking years?
You're there to upkeep and maintain a property that you do not own technically.
That was not clarified, and if it was,
it was clarified when they took the fucking house and put you in the desert.
Oh, sure, but would I sign a contract that said I give up all my equitable interest? No, that would be unconscionable.
Again, you're either operating within the laws of equity or you're operating within their fascist pimp game system. You can't really conflate the two. So if you want equity, you got to come with equity. You didn't come with equity. You came hat in hand and took out a bunch of obligations off of debt from their work and their pimping. So guess what? If you ask a pimp for, if a pimp asks you for a cookie, at some point they might ask you for a glass of milk, right? And I'm kind of being off the top of my head flippant, but you know what you're dealing with, or should know in common sense. When you get involved with these people, you're relinquishing a certain aspect of your rights and abilities to upkeep and maintain a property that you couldn't get without their resources.
And why is that exactly? Why can somebody not have a house or a shelter without jumping through their bullshit hoops?
Again, it's called community and family. One, I know this is a shocking idea that you're supposed to have family and community. I know it's shocking that you're supposed to have intergenerational wealth, where you have folks who work for hundreds of years and manage their affairs and pass things down, like the guys you went to get the loan from. You know what I'm talking about. So I'm sorry that your friends, your friends, family, community have all mismanaged their life and affairs, and you have little to nothing to show for hundreds of years of intergenerational lineage. I'm sorry to hear that. But we can stop blaming everyone else who's giving you everything instead of taking the culpability that you've had a bunch of procrastinating, lazy, unconscious, ignorant, arrogant, unworthy folks who've squandered everything they've been given or co-created. That's the reality of it. So when we really get real with ourselves and each other, that will be the path to reconciliation. And then we can really start to put our mind, heart, and body and energy onto creating something for ourselves now and the future. Because the rest of this is emotional nonsense, and it's not going to lead to anything other than more false beliefs that are going to keep you disempowered and paralyzed and procrastinating.
And Dean, I would surmise that you weren't aware that if you were to put a lien on your property beforehand, well enough before the foreclosure, you could have prevented the sale.
Hey, I got a better idea for you. Every single one of these people who has to live beyond their means and get 20-year loans to have a lifestyle can go get a fucking tent or a camper, just like myself or anyone else, and do 2 to 3 years of working and saving and maybe reinvesting. And then at some point, they can work toward home ownership instead of thinking they're going to come out of college into a fucking home. It's ludicrous. And it's called entitlement. And it's called laziness. And it's called lack of discipline. And it's called being a bitch ass motherfucker in plain language. You get me?
Is that me you're talking about? Because
I'm
you have
talking
no
about
idea what you're
anyone it
talking about.
applies to. I'm talking about anyone it applies to. If that's you, step up. If it's not, step aside.
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about because that's nothing
Right,
about
I'm
what I was
talking about a
mentioning.
bunch of inauthentic corporate males who don't know how to sacrifice and deal with certain consequences and save and reinvest and work toward a goal instead of being entitled, unthankful, ungrateful, and mismanaging everything they've been given. If it applies to you, take it. If it doesn't, then it doesn't. But you got to be real with yourself and others first. And I suggest most folks are not that.
Yeah, I know. You suggest it almost daily. I hear that.
Right. And you do nothing other than have a negative fucking attitude and act like a bitch even when you come on here. I was forced out into the desert. No, you were given your just desserts, exactly what you need, what you've needed all along.
Well,
you were reduced exactly back down to who and what you are and what you have and what you can do. What the fuck are you doing with it other than bitching and complaining and sitting on a lawn chair?
Is that what it looks like I'm doing to you, Paul?
That's what it feels like. I can't tell what it looks like because we're in this moment right now. And of course, to talk to me, you'd probably have to be seated unless you were Jesse Howe painting a house or riding around town.
So are your feelings
what it feels like, what it feels like with you and many other folks, you're doing little to nothing to better yourself and your situation. You're probably hanging around a bunch of people who have the same internal space as you, holding each other back, and you have no vision or goals that you've set and are attempting to hit. But you have all too much time, energy, and attention to bitch and complain about how it hadn't gone right for you when you've already got way more than you deserve, I suspect. If we were to put this on a scale worldwide, with the rest of the world living on $2 a day or less, right? That's what I'm going to go with. You know, since that's the majority of United States citizen slaves at this point, I'm just going to go ahead and guess that some of that has rubbed off on you, like many of us for many years of our life. So I'm not out of that basket with you, by the way. I'm just calling attention and awareness to who and what I am, what I've been, and what I want to become, and what's necessary, it would seem, for all of us, because this shit hasn't been working.
I'll agree with that.
Can I
it sure as hell
something,
hasn't been working.
Paul?
Go ahead, Lewis.
I just wanted to say, and then I'm going to go, but, you know, when I was getting clean, I don't know if this fits into this argument, but I believe it does. When I was getting clean, I owed my supplier a certain amount of money, right? And I knew I was going away, and most likely I wasn't going to be back on drugs, and I paid him. And then while I was in the program, I think I've told you this before, that they found his car with his brains in it, but no body, and exactly the amount of money that I paid him in the trunk.
It's exactly the opposite of the way he lived, with a body with no brains in it. Go ahead.
Right. And so I think the way this ties in is that you chose to take that mortgage, right? And I chose to take those drugs. And yeah, I could have not paid him and just disappeared. And maybe down the road something could have come of that, or maybe not. I could have been perfectly fine. But once you choose to do that, then it's your obligation to fulfill that obligation, right? If you don't fulfill that obligation, then you have choices. You can sell the house, you can do whatever you have to do, and make them whole for what they've given you the opportunity to do through their mortgage. I know it's a death pledge, I know it's all bullshit, but we choose to accept that ourselves willingly, and then get angry when we can't pay for it. Follow what I'm saying, or did I lose you?
Well, if there were anger, I might agree with that, but there's not anger in what I'm talking about. However, what if one also has evidence that by the contractual agreements that they signed, that perhaps the other side did not follow the contract? So these things happen as well. It's not always one-sided. It's not always cut and dry.
Right, so you contracted with the devil and got burned, and you're surprised. Who's the fool?
Well, obviously me, and I got no problem being the fool. That's not what I'm bitching about. I'm not even bitching. I'm just pointing out the fact that is where I'm at and how it got here, and what I'm intending to attempt to do about it, so that I'm not a bitch-ass slave. Because that's really what it all boils down to, was to stop being somebody's bitch-ass slave and figuring out how to walk this walk and live this life without fear and without it driving me. That was my journey. That was my work that I had to do. So take it from
right, and it's always ongoing, right? So I could argue everyone's right where they need to be, regardless of how it feels and looks, because now is going to come an opportunity to do something different. And I feel there's an opportunity there with you, like all of us, for a fulfilling journey and experience. But yeah, it's going to take some work, and it's going to take jumping out of your comfort zone. It's going to take doing things that you may never thought you were going to do before.
If you want me to toot my own horn,
I'm speaking to myself just like I'm speaking to you right now, so let's not mistake that. Go ahead.
Well, that's fine. I tell you, I've had some warm receptions to my encounters with others in the last week or so, and so much so that I've been called an angel by 2 different people. So take that for what you will take that, but it's not like I'm out here selfishly worrying about my shit. I'm out here helping people as much as I can, and if I see somebody in need, and when I saw these people in need, we help them.
You understand the concept of helping others can also be selfish because it's fulfilling some internal need you seem to have, while you may be neglecting helping yourself and whoever's in your immediate position?
Well, perhaps. I mean, you can always see a downside if there's an upside.
I'm not saying I see a downside. I'm bringing a different perspective. Even the way you receive information is from a negative bent. You're seeing negativity and downsides where I'm just giving you different perspectives. Why is that?
Why did you forget? The first thing I said is there's blessings all around.
You just told me that your biggest claim this week is that 2 people told you something. What does that mean to me or you in your situation? That 2 people this week told you something. I don't understand how that applies.
Good. I made people feel better. I love my brother.
Right, you're in your feelers, and so much so you're projecting onto others that what's most important is you make people feel better. How about we start doing better, and then we may feel better? Did you ever think of that?
I'm just trying to follow what I understand this life is about. And if it's not about
what you understand this life is about, and no matter how much it keeps getting you horrible results, you keep defending it and then acting like other people don't know what they're talking about or are being negative. It's fascinating.
You're telling me there's horrible results here? I just told you I'm blessed every day, and you're calling those horrible results?
I really don't feel it from you. I think you're saying that, but I don't feel it, and it's not in your countenance or in your speech and the words you choose. Forgive me if I don't completely accept your claim. I'm allowed to project or be mistaken, right? If that's the case.
Then what you're hearing is probably my upbringing, because it was, in my opinion, harsh and rough, and it made me this slightly harsh and rough.
Right. Is it possible that your traumatic upbringing put you so much in your feelers that you made the rest of your life about focusing on your feelers and everyone else's rather than the co-creation and the purpose?
If that's what I think I'm probably doing that without saying those words to you, by making my intention to love another as I love myself,
You think that love has to do with feelings. I contend it has little to nothing to do with feelings. The feelings are an effect, not a cause. True love and true care is action-based, and it has results in self and outside of self. And it is succession and successful.
Well, there you have it. Yeah, I agree. That's exactly what it is.
So if you were truly loving yourself and everyone in your immediate area, you'd be figuring out how to get yourself in a position to retain your rights, property, freedom, ability to co-create, and have something, like I said, to pass down in the way of not only property, but wisdom to your young ones, presuming you have future lineage. It's not about making people feel good here. Feeling good is a quality or an effect of living a good life and having good results and having a good understanding of yourself and others.
Right. Like, I don't know that I failed my daughter because, yes, I'm in this now situation where I'm not leaving any.
It's not about your daughter. It's about you failed yourself by living in truth. And when I bring it to you and others here for the last 2 years, you've done nothing but act like you're at a garden party. So now it got real. And if you think that I'm going to have any sympathy for you or myself or anyone else, I'm not, because that's more bullshit feelers. You're still alive. You're present. You have the now. You have your health. You have her. You have each other. And you have goals and purpose and meaning that you can hit together. Your life could be better than ever, but you're still in your negative feelings telling me about being blessed. I don't buy it.
Okay, then. You don't have.
If you were blessed, you'd go start a fucking business with that daughter. You're crying about failing, just like you were crying about being taken out of the home and sent to the desert. If you'd stop whining and crying and being negative while projecting I'm being negative, you'd start living in true love, true care, and true purpose, and you'd get amazing fucking results. I bet if I took over there, not that I would. Right? But if you gave me the power, like the Sims game, to take over your situation and get your women and children and work with them and within myself, you'd see almost immediate change within the first year to year and a half. You'd see folks enlightening their inner space. You'd see them feel more trust and safety than ever. They'd be co-creating in purpose and meaning and succeeding, and there would be value all around. Okay? So I'm not trying to pick on you or insult you. I'm trying to bring awareness, as I always do, to what I've perceived in you for the last 2 years, that I perceived in many, that I perceive in myself, and trying to nudge a bit more of alignment into the track, if that makes sense, the timeline. I may not be doing a great job at it. Hey, I may be egoic and narcissistic. The universe is going to do it better than Paulie Boy can or anyone else. What I've learned for me. But again, I have an experience. I'm sure it's almost one for one like yours, because there's only one self here. So while I'm speaking to you, I'm speaking to a part of me, because it's all the same journey. It's all the same seeking of truth. It's all the same application of the understanding, and either the results or not, as far as I can see. So again, I'm not picking on you. I'm not coming down on you. I'm trying to bring awareness to how thankful and grateful we can be with little to nothing, and how once we accept where we're at and what got us here, we can then change it and go forward and do something different and get different results. And I think you're exactly where you need to be. And this is a blessing in disguise. So I'd get with that daughter. I'd put it all on the table. Listen, I fucked up. I've been an authentic corporate male. I've been in my feelers, and I fucked up the package. But here's the good news. I got fellowship online with this gorilla. Okay. I got a bunch of opportunities. We got our health, and we're going to do something different now, make something happen. And you're going to take charge of yourself and your life and that household, in a sense, and you're going to have people being led. And what's going to be leading you? The spirit, if you let it be. Okay. And you know what also it's going to take? May possibly take, because I don't really know your story, removing some people from your life. Because I'd bet that there's a devouring mama somewhere in the picture. Okay. I bet that there's a woman somewhere in there who's holding somebody back from their complete purpose and meaning, and or not supporting it, and or doesn't see it, and how to activate it. So I don't know that. I'm kind of just shooting in the dark what I know about me and what I've seen over and over again replicated in this simulation, loops within loops of oneself, mirrored back as individuals. So take that, I guess, for what it's worth. If I could give you a word of inspiration while also seeming to be critical, Again, this is an adjustment of perspective and awareness, and sometimes it takes radical authenticity and revelation to shake things up to get it back on track. Because many of us, for most of our life, have been the inauthentic corporate male in some sense. We've not taken charge of ourselves in our life, and the extension of us have suffered for it, because that's what they want from us. That's what our women and children and even the courts want from us, is to own the position, stand in place, move forward, be competent and capable and presentable and honorable, and be rugged entrepreneurial, turning nothing into something. That's Americana, right? That's what we need right now. That's what we don't have more than anything, and that's why we have the society and situation that we're presently observing and experimenting with. Your thoughts, Dean, Sean? I'll throw the link if folks want to come on up. We only got a few minutes left.
It just sounds like you're talking about, corporate shit, their system, their business, the debt slave system that we're all surrounded by. That's what it takes a man. You got to get in there and do that right.
What do you do every day for a living? What do you do for a living every day?
What I did for many years was work at least 2 or 3 jobs at a time, trying to get by, because I guess I didn't
tell you to work 2 or 3 slave jobs to get by. I told you to be rugged entrepreneurial. That means turn nothing into something. That means have some ingenuity. That means have some understanding of a free market and how it works, how you bring in value in various ways, become an asset to the community, bring a product or a service. It's called being a fucking man.
Were you asking what I did, or what do you want me to do from here on out? That's where I get confused.
I just said to you, see, that's the thing about inauthentic corporate males. You all want to come on here like Wizard and the rest and tell me what you did 20 years ago for 10 years in a row that you have little to nothing to show for now. I don't give a fuck about that. I asked you a specific, direct question. What do you do now, day to day, to make a living?
I've been figuring out this nomadic.
The answer was nothing, and that's what I could have supposed. And there's your fucking problem. How do I know? Because it's been my problem most of my life. Henceforth, this broadcast is part of what my career, if you will, has become. Various sources of value going out and coming in.
Look for work, and I volunteer at food banks. I've done 3 different food banks in 3 different towns in the last month or 2.
So you're seeking coin of the realm and validation and virtuous value in coin. So you go to the food bank to hand out corporately acquired food to a bunch of drug addicts who won't produce for themselves, but largely in part, right? The majority of folks who go to food banks are not folks who can't work and are disabled and can't produce for themselves. They're just folks who've accepted less for themselves than everyone else because folks like you are all too willing to hand shit out to give them a living in a way.
Not even the truth. I haven't even experienced that in my life, so I don't know what you're talking about. The people who go to food banks are people who are hungry.
Right. Why are they hungry?
Because people eat.
Right. So I got up this morning and went down to a food bank, right? Because I was hungry. Or are you being purposely obtuse? This is what I mean. Go to Talcadia, where folks take out mortgages, never plan to pay, and then want to argue over the code of how it's going to get taken back, and tell me how virtuous they are because they volunteer at charities to give other people who can't maintain and manage their own life and affairs free things. Because they really deserve that. They've worked so hard. They've been an asset to the community. They've really cared about themselves and others so much that they deserve free handouts.
Anybody that tells Paul,
while the rest of us work for a living and or realize just the base form of life on life's terms, even if you don't want to work for a living, you have to produce value in some way or bring value to the community. If not, you're a fucking waste of time, energy, attention, and life ultimately. Because separate from a money system, if they took money away tomorrow, you'd still have to occupy a position in the community. So you're going to be a blacksmith, you're going to be like a roofer, you're going to bottle plants and herbs as essential oils for healing. You're going to preach a good word to inspire people to be prolific and prosperous in themselves and in the community. What is going to be your role and function outside of drifting and seeking and playing middleman in every situation?
Well, thank you, Paul. I guess I'll try to be more like Paul. So like,
there you go. Try to be like Paul. So now in his egoic arrogance, he's going to again expose his negative inner space, his hoe-like inner space, right? That weak ass, undisciplined, bleeding heart bullshit that he got from the devouring women in his life. I'd bet anything on it. So you're effeminate, sir. We've seen it here since day one. You've been here 2 years. I could have called it day one. You're effeminate. I probably already have. And you just won't accept it. So be more like Paul. No, be more like a fucking man. That's what Paul has been trying to do. Has he perfected it or necessarily have all the answers? No, it's a journey and it's not over. But that's the difference between me and you. I become aware of my weakness and my failings, and I've done various things to try to correct my position and function in the community and in life. You do not wish to do that. You want to make excuses, be entitled, get in your feelers, act arrogant and presumptuous. You weren't acting like this. You were in your own way, but you weren't acting like this 2 years ago when we met, when you were out back laughing and giggling with that broad you were with, like you were at a garden party, because it wasn't an issue. It wasn't a problem. But I was still here 2 years ago talking the same shit to people like you to try to wake you to fuck up out of your disempowerment, your impotence, and your slumber. And here we are. And Slavecot's going to be right with you over the next 4 months. And boy, are we all going to get a laugh. So while I was door dashing and Grubhubbing and bringing the law to the public servants and going to jail and gave up an apartment for $100 a month, right? 15 stacks on the side, went to a fucking tent to start to homestead, right? To grow plants, to take care of animals, to try to change my life and lifestyle and future and results in various ways. I also started a broadcast, sir, that has been very successful in its own right in putting out and bringing in value. So you could either get like Paulie boy and do way better, or you can defend your shitty position, results, and lifestyle. It's on you, pal. You've only had 2 fucking years with me to continue your bullshit now in this moment when you're completely fucked up, failure, loser, like I've been saying. You even just said it about yourself with your own daughter. So are you the failure fucking loser out of your own mouth after 2 years of me telling you and Slavecot and the rest to shape up or ship out? Or are you right where you need to be? See, it's a little bit of both, really. This is what's so great about life. We're all a little bit of both, loser fucking failure who become awake and aware and start to do and create and be different things and get different results. And you take that as far as you want to go with it on either side. Right. And then there's kind of a middle ground, right? You all want to occupy the middle ground without doing the work on both sides. So you couldn't afford to sit back for 2 fucking years smoking in the backyard, drinking Long Island iced teas with that broad. You thought you could, but you couldn't. And that's why I've done 500 fucking broadcasts straight, not missing one fucking day, sometimes 6 to 8 hours a day, because I'm working every fucking now with this, whatever this is, right? To produce for myself in the now and for the future. I'm not bitching, whining, and complaining, nor was I entitled, because I did the broadcast from a fucking tent and was overjoyed about my new life and lifestyle. I get to do what I want, what I'm good at, what I love to do. People are seeing value in it. I got NFL players, folks from DARPA. I got high-level truthers showing up to greet me and give me opportunities and share value with me. Are you kidding? This is what I mean about all you bitch-ass motherfuckers who are so egoic and arrogant and then project it onto me. My fucking life and lifestyle and results are infinitely better than yours. My understanding of self and what's communicated directly and indirectly from me to others is way better than yours. But you're going to act like you got it all together. But you still come here every fucking day because you know in your subconscious, in your spirit, I got what the fuck you need, but you won't take it. So what do I do exactly? Other than continue to love and care for everybody unconditionally and have a conditional level of trust and respect, whether or not you're going to be a student of life and come to know yourself and what your function and role here is objectively. I don't know what else to do. Because I know this is going to be perceived as angry and hateful and bitter and resentful. Maybe a little bit of it is, because I'm trying to light a fire under your ass and many others, and I'm trying to keep that fire going within me.
Well, hey, actually, the only reason I got on today, and I haven't been on for a long time, is because I did want to ask you about whatever you got going on. Because I understand that you're somewhere in Arizona in the desert somewhere, and
If you
that's
think
where
that I'm going to bring you down to anything I'm doing, you got the wrong idea right now.
All right,
See?
that's fine, but that's why I got
fine. Right when I just told you about being weak and codependent and acting like a bitch, you want to double down on it after we're already having a disagreement. Hey, what are you doing? How can I come and live off you and use you? No, I got a list of people who've already given me that opportunity to come over wherever I'm at and live off of me when they haven't listened to a motherfucking thing I've said for the last 2 years, proving they don't respect me or the truth that I live. So how exactly are we going to live and work together when we already can't come to an understanding and a common ground? See, there you go, trying it just like y'all do, trying to use me as soon as it gets bad for you. No, I just told you what to do. Did I look around for a bunch of people to use, or did I pack all my shit in a fucking Maxima, ride to the public land, live on the fucking tent based on alignment with code and the law, and then educate the servants along the way and create content and also work for a living? Did I look for a Paulie boy who barely can get his own shit together and keep everything going and focus on himself and his purpose without being used or detracted from with the people in his life? No, another person wants to come in to suck off me and use me while being defensive and argumentative with me and the way. It's fascinating
to me
really
how much you put in your own
it.
head without even knowing what you're saying, because you can't possibly know.
Do you think that I'm going to have a man who sounds and presents like you walking around with me and going out to the world with me? Do you really think that's going to happen? The fact that you would even make me say it shows how disingenuous you are and how you would try to set me up to look like something that I've already taken ownership and position of. Egoic, narcissist, cult leader who won't take on a bunch of folks who want to be pimped on and culted and codependent. Fascinating. Get rid of that goofy bitch who's been holding you back, because I'm going to jump right out the window with it. Okay? Get back to your fucking self, your purpose and meaning. Go off on your own, go into isolation, reconvene with the Holy Spirit, and bring it back to the world and co-create something. If not, you're going to be here another year from now, whining and bitching and complaining to me and seeing how you can use me while you shit on me indirectly.
Yeah,
And yeah, this is what true care looks and sounds and feels like, by the way. I know it's never going to be received as that.
I appreciate your attempts, but I got to go. I appreciate your attempts. And it's not like a real conversation because it's sort of a one-sided storytelling. So great story. I love it.
Right. You keep acting like a bitch-ass motherfucker because you just still didn't accept. You just clarified and made it true that you need what I have, not only metaphysically, but physically. And you still think we're here to have a conversation. Fascinating. You're right. They were attempts because I'm attempting to give you knowledge of self, which can't be done. I must be the biggest fool in the room. I've shown you better than I could tell you, and you've done nothing with it. So you're right. I am the fool, right? They are attempts, and it isn't going to take, because while I'm showing you in my life year to year, while I tell you, you do little to nothing to exemplify it, embody it, while wanting to show up to be entertained by it and or use it. Just like God, just like the universe, just like all the things that come in your life. You want to be entertained by it. Girls just want to have fun, or you want to use everyone and everything, including God. And then there comes a point where you start to help your fucking self and others truly and start to co-create with the Holy Spirit, compassion with passion. Okay. And then that's when you start to generate a little bit more of a fulfilling and pleasurable life when you're at rest. But guess what? The majority of this life, are you ever really at rest? Are you ever really off the clock? Are you ever really done doing work? Right? You get off the broadcast, you get done with work, and then you got to have authentic, real conversations with the women and children in your life. It's more work to do, but you got to love the game. See? Most folks don't love themselves and love life. They don't love the game. They show up to the game without practicing, half-assed, lukewarm, and expect to exceed performance. Expect to be competent. It's not going to happen. So if you ain't got that spirit and that fire burning in you, you better figure out a way to fucking relight it or cultivate it and make it grow. Because without that, you ain't getting nowhere. Nice guys finish last. right? Give me the real or give me nothing at all. And that's the same thing you should want from me. And that's exactly what the fuck I gave you here today. If you don't appreciate that, then you're just like the rest of the broken hoes who I'll never be co-creating with, because they'd rather be lied to. They want a comfortable lie rather than the uncomfortable real deal of who or what we need to be and what it's going to take. Those are motherfuckers who are not designed for success. Clear as fucking day. Ask anybody in any field. Go ask Shinhen Yi the monk, and he'll tell you the same fucking thing in his own way that I just did. I presume. Your thoughts, Sean? PiNEAL power? And then there were two.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't think people need to go to extremes, but I do think sometimes in the same respect, it is necessary. And I don't even consider it an extreme to use psychedelic, what I would call plant therapies, plant medicine, for certain interventions. And I'm someone who I don't even remember the last time I've honestly even dabbled on a micro level with any psychedelics or anything. It's been months. So let alone since the last time I actually had a macro dose experience, a regular, experience. But yeah, I think it's very realistic. Like, just say, for instance, microdosing mushrooms, and not even necessarily psychedelic mushrooms, really, medicinal mushrooms for being able to grasp bigger concepts. I don't know, but Dean, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but don't you get it, brother?
It's not even about grasping bigger concepts. It's about integrating the seemingly individualized self into the whole, which is the universe. And it scales down as your country, your state, your community, your family. We have a disintegration simulation going on here. We have a bunch of folks who are one self on the highest level, who are on the lowest level, because they see separation in space, are disintegrated. They do not occupy a function in themselves, in their house, in their family, in their community that is co-creative in its foundational understanding, right? Inherent power and value systems. He wants to tell me he thinks that I'm a capitalist because he thinks this is toxic masculinity by revealing to him what nature has already laid down: inherent power and value systems. Your effeminate ego is not more powerful or overriding than inherent hierarchical power and value systems of nature. So the faster you get in line with what is life on life's terms, the faster you can start to rise and or succeed and or co-create with desirable results. Very simple, very difficult seeming. Very simple, but very challenging. Not difficult. Very simple in its conceptualization and application. Very challenging in what it's going to take from the inner space to get it done, it would seem. So it's a reactivation that needs to take place genetically, epigenetically. There's ways to do that and facilitate that, but you'd have to listen. You'd have to take suggestions. You'd have to take a motherfucker's first-hand account and experience and be able to walk with it. Yeah, it looks a lot like doing a cult sometimes, I got to tell you. So, some folks might say, this is the best cult, non-cult ever, because I'm only leading you back to the truest form of self within you. I'm not leading you where I'm going or where I want you to go. That's not what my purpose is here. Not what anybody's purpose is here who's revealed the quote-unquote truth of beingness or the art of living. So, when they figure out who and what I am and what the fuck I've been doing here for years and what my intention and purpose and results are, they'll go, oh, wow, eureka. Like Patriot Canadian who stormed off in a huff over a year ago, didn't come back, then showed up here yesterday to say, Paulie, and I love this process. I'm not being egoic about it. I just love the game. I have to thank you. Why now? Why do you got to thank me? Because it all clicked with me, right? And I got results. So it's all I need. That's all I need. I don't even need the credit. I don't even need the fucking physical value necessarily, right? We all want that. We all need it, and essentially to live in the world. But in my inner space, all I need is coin of the realm. I have the way. I have the good idea. If I hand it to you and it works, I'm secured value eternally. It's just about how it's going to show up, when, what's going to be the ebb and flow of it. Okay? But this is amazing because folks will tell me from the beginning, you're going to trade on rights, freedom, principles, spiritual faith, conscious and awareness. It's not marketable. How are you going to get value? I go, you guys did it again. You did it again in your ignorance and arrogance. It's the only thing that's valuable and marketable right now because it is the crux of why we're all losing and failing individually and as a whole society. Hello, anyone out there in here? Kind of scent is that? What's the scent? Oh, it's reefer. Thought you were smelling a fucking candle. Whoa, bro, don't be bringing me down there right away. Not at least not out here. Go get that sister of yours who looks just like you. It's very odd. He's got this sister who looks just like him without the beard and with hair. I go, it's got to be the strangest thing to bang her and then show up at Thanksgiving dinner and look at him. Very sort of trippy, hallucinogenic in a way. I don't know. What the fuck am I even talking about? Hey, bro, I just noticed time flies when you're having fun. We're 15 minutes over. Could you give me a final word, Sean? Because I think I'm going to wrap things up. Okay. Very powerful second half of the broadcast, if I may say so myself.
I would have to agree, non-agree.
Okay, so you're like imagining agreements and simultaneously imagining disagreements. That's kind of interesting. I like
it's a little bit possibly Talcottian, but as we know, Talcottianism is very contagious, folks. So, in case you can't tell, those are my final words. Talcottianism is a pandemic, so we got to figure it out, folks. 2024 is coming around. I think the Talcott variant is coming, so beware. Look out for that one. And
Talcott 19 spread.
Yeah, Talcott 19. Maybe Talcott 69, possibly. Sure,
whoa, we can new levels of pleasure. No, yeah, that's what that is. That's new levels of pleasure.
New levels of pleasure. New levels of release.
I fucking love my Patriot Hydration Pack. Oh, that feels good.
Yeah, I run that one. Jeep Girl's got something to say. She's put off by that ad specifically, like anything Talcott related. But as soon as you start to mix Talcott and sexuality, everybody's just kind of grossed out. I find a way to always be humored by it. I don't focus on the sexuality. I just focus on the bigger picture. So I always have a good time with it. I can get really cringy and creepy and gross, and I just fucking laugh and laugh. But these people, they're vomiting right now. Right? Just even the mere mention of Talcott climaxing is enough to make the audience vomit. So you got to look at that. You got to think about that, Jack. All right, please, Sean, give me the final word. Let me out of here. I know what you're going to do, bro. You do this every time. You come up here at the end, you say little to nothing of value, and then you just fucking suck off me and keep me here. And you won't even let me bang your sister,
I've been
bro.
up here.
No. This is what I mean. You're unthankful and ungrateful, and you're selfish. I told you to go get your sister. I tell you all the time, you never go get her, and I'm a good man. What? So you can come here and just sit next to me, suck off me, keep me here, use me and abuse me, but I'm not good enough to bang your sister? What's up with that, bro?
Listen,
you're not a real friend.
She's a very
you're not a real friend. Is what it is.
She's a confused girl.
I could have figured that. I mean, your whole lineage has that in common.
Yeah, that's true.
That's a familial quality, right? So I already knew if I'm going to bang her, I'm going to deal with confusion, but that's my specialty, right?
Well,
and that's
to be
kind
honest,
of the.
Yeah, she's not so much. There's not so much of this type of confusion I'm referring to in my family, but luckily she herself isn't dealing with the biological aspect of the confusion. just the mental and cultural indoctrinated confusion?
Yeah, she's been living around you for the last 20-something years. That'll do it.
No, I'm saying it's more like the blue hair, LGB, XYZ,
Oh, right. Yeah. Right. I should
kind
know.
of thing, you know? Yeah.
It's not, she doesn't wake up in a house with a man who hasn't left the house in months and get confused and chaotic inside. It's the blue haired people.
Hey, I'm not at the house right now, so how about that? How about that?
Right. You're at someone else's mom's house.
Right.
Right. You can't argue it. See how
No,
I'm always on point. I always tell the truth even when I lie, PiNEAL. Yeah, I always tell the truth even when I do the bit non-bit.
But it's always a bit non. I mean, is life not a bit non-bit at this point?
Over there? I just saw that bed you're in. I know you didn't buy that bed, and I know that's someone else's mom's house. You better not be soiling that bed. Okay?
I'm definitely not doing anything in this.
They know
bed
what you're up to there. That's why they don't want to let you over. Don't play with PiNEAL. You can't bring Sean over here. He's going to soil the sheets again. The filthy animal. Doesn't leave the house for months, comes over here, soils the sheets, go back home for another few months. It's fucking disgusting. Right? It's grotesque the way you're living.
According to Walter, I love to ride coattails for the easy.
Dude, I saw that party you went to too. There was one woman there and 5 men. Like, what are you doing? You talk about an extraordinary loser failure vibe. You guys throw a party, 5 guys like the food chain, and 1 woman shows up. I mean, there ain't even enough orifices to get that done. I mean, I don't even know what you guys are up to over there. I really don't even want to know. Just let's move on. Forget it. You know what? Don't even move on. Can you just go and give me the final word?
I just want to know, by curiosity, did you hear about the all this? Did you check out? You're not going to admit it. You know what? I can't even ask you if you checked my stream out. I'm not going to admit it.
Oh, so now you're accusing me of being a fucking liar.
I know you watch my
I don't regularly cock this shit on this bro. Don't talk over me when I'm interrupting you. You know better than that.
All right.
You're going to call me a fucking liar, then interrupt me while you're going to speak while I'm interrupting you, rather.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Yeah, well, so go ahead and ask me. You know damn well I don't leave anything from this audience. I've been too forthcoming, some folks might say.
Well, I don't think you'll admit whether or not you were watching my stream because it might make you look some certain way.
I don't watch your stream at all. Are you looking at me? Hey, I'm not that good at lying. I'm going to look you right in the eye. I never watch your streams. You understand what I'm saying? I don't. So if you're going to do this Illuminati thing where you fixate and obsess and have a fantasy, you got quite an imagination. This is what happens when you don't leave the house for months at a time. You start fantasizing that I'm like in between masturbating and chain smoking and coughing and eating cheese and doing a broadcast. You think I have time to go over to your hole and watch your broadcast. I don't. Okay? I'm too busy trying to inseminate the Michelle Moretti creature and other women online. I don't have time to be over there playing games with you and 5 guys.
Here's the deal, all right? Here's the deal, and this is the deal, and here's the deal, and this is what it is.
Okay.
I've heard you make references on multiple occasions that proves to me that you were watching my broadcast. So I'm just putting that out there. But the reason I was asking,
if you're gonna go ahead and run with this, then I'm just gonna go silent. So you just go ahead and tell the people whatever narrative you wish for them to believe. And I'll leave it there because I just told you I don't watch your broadcast. You're imagining things like when you count numbers with Zach Hubbard, you're imagining synchronicities again. You're imagining agreements and synchronicities that aren't there. So I don't watch your broadcast. I'm not interested in what you're doing. I'm focused on myself and my life. I don't even watch the likes of Slave Cot, Slow State, or the rest of them at this time. I've completely recentered and refocused on myself and whatever's going on in my life. But again, if you want to go, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to go to the back and you go ahead and tell everybody what you think is going on with me and you. And then, let me know when you're.
Give me a minute. Yeah, all right, Paulie. But guess what, man? You don't talk like me. You don't walk.
Looping does go on here.
You don't fuck.
Everyone's got to appreciate. Everyone's got to fucking bow down and suck my dick in public.
You don't fuck like me. You don't suck like me. You don't.
I'm fucking sick of you.
You don't cook chicken like me.
You're not listening to anything I'm saying.
You don't wake up like me. You don't bake up like me. You don't cake up like me. You don't cupcake like me. You don't shake like me. You don't cake like me. You don't lake like me. You don't make like me. You don't Heisenberg like me.
If you get past your fucking conclusions.
Man, my cheeks are tired after I'm done.
All right, Sean, great job. You completely destroyed the ending of this broadcast, and you're forcing me to work overtime and try to make it into something, and I'm done with it. So go take your horrible personality and lifestyle back to wherever you got it from, and I'm going to continue on my day. And you can go start a broadcast and convince yourself that I'm watching it. I won't stop you.
All right.
All right, bye. All right, guys. Resounding success as always. I'm going to leave you at this point. Retire to my quarters. We thank Sean PiNEAL Power for being here. Amazing guest, as always. And all the rest. Okay. Steve Martin says he'll be joining us tomorrow. I have faith in that, at least for an hour. We look forward to his hasty return. So, yeah, as I said, back tomorrow, 12 to 2, somewhere in that zone, I suspect, MDT, as we do every day, 7 days a week. We don't stop. 500 straight or more at this point. The White Gorilla don't quit. So, Mazel Tov, salute. Okay. You know, where's my salute? Where's my salute? There it is.
Salute.
Right. The Gay AF Network says salute to you and yours during this holy day season, 100 holy days of Unslavia. And I look forward to returning tomorrow and see all you folks, men, women, and children, where I left you. Okay. Hopefully you don't actually stay in the same spot like Dean and Jack Talcott and many others. Get out there, get in the world, co-create, have some real conversations, develop some understanding of self through experience, push boundaries, reconcile your fears, and get some damn results inside and outside of yourself. Why the hell not? Like they say, YOLO, people. You only live once in this body, in this vessel. It seems that we go on after this. But while you're here in this vessel, make the most of it. Surrender the rest. All right, I'm out of here. We stand with Ukraine, Israel, and whoever else we're told to, and that's how it's going. And if not, go fuck yourself.